The warning chime echoed through the council chamber as HFY pressed her six-fingered hand against the communication panel. The message had arrived through the most primitive method possible, electromagnetic waves crawling through space at the speed of light like some ancient relic from the dark ages of civilization. "This is impossible," muttered Korthak, his scaled hide shifting from blue to deep purple as he read the transmission data. "The star system Sol 3 is barely out of its chemical propulsion phase. Our last survey showed them launching crude metal, cylinders into their own orbit." HFY's compound eyes focused on the crude human transmission. The message was simple, almost laughably basic compared to the quantum-encrypted communications that civilized species used. But the content made her blood run cold. "Greetings to any listening civilizations. This is the United Earth Government. We have achieved faster-than-light travel and seek peaceful contact with other spacefaring species. We are transmitting from coordinates 47.2 by 15.7 galactic standard at the edge of our solar system. Please respond if you receive this message." The council chamber fell silent except for the soft humming of the quantum processors analyzing the signal. 12 species had representatives in the room, and all of them were staring at the display in disbelief. "Run it again," ordered Counselor Vextar, her crystalline form pulsing with nervous energy. "There must be some error in the translation. Matrix." The message played again. Same words, same impossible claim. The humans, a species that should barely understand the basics of space travel, claimed they had broken the light-speed barrier. Korthak stood up, his massive frame casting shadows across the curved walls. As the Council's military advisor, he had seen every known form of FTL technology. Jump gates that folded space, quantum tunnels that bypassed normal physics, dimensional slips that let ships ride the currents between realities. All of them required centuries of advanced physics and careful engineering. "They must have found an artifact," he said, his voice carrying the authority of someone who had studied warfare for 300 years. "Some ancient technology left behind by the predecessors. It happens occasionally with younger species." HFY nodded, but something felt wrong. The transmission had an odd quality to it. Most species who discovered predecessor technology approached it with reverence, even fear. These humans sounded casual, like they were discussing the weather. "There's something else," she said, pulling up additional data. "The transmission originated from their home system, but it was sent simultaneously from 17 different locations. Either they have multiple FTL-capable vessels or what?" Vextar's crystal form dimmed with concern. "Or their technology allows them to be in multiple places at once." The implications hung in the air like a toxic cloud. Even the most advanced species in the Council could barely manage 1 or 2 FTL vessels at a time. The energy requirements alone should make multiple simultaneous FTL operations impossible for a species that had just discovered fire a few thousand years ago. "We need to investigate," Korthak declared. "I'll take the Vigilant Dawn and a small diplomatic team. If they've found predecessor technology, we need to assess the threat level." Threat level? HFY's antennae twitched with confusion. "They're asking for peaceful contact." Korthak's hide shifted to a darker purple. "Any species that goes from chemical rockets to multiple FTL vessels in less than a century is either lying, incredibly dangerous, or both. The last time we encountered rapid technological development, the Zarthak Empire nearly wiped out half the galaxy before we stopped them." The comparison made everyone in the chamber uncomfortable. The Zarthak had been brilliant, aggressive, and completely insane. They had tried to turn stars into weapons and planets into factory worlds. It had taken the combined might of 15 species to contain them, and even then, the war had lasted for decades. "The humans aren't the Zarthak," HFY said, but her voice lacked conviction. "Their message mentioned peaceful contact." "So did the Zarthak," Korthak replied grimly. "Right up until they started glassing inhabited worlds." HFY pulled up the human transmission one more time, studying every detail. The signal was crude but functional. The language was simple but clear. And there was something else. A background. That her instruments couldn't quite identify. It wasn't interference exactly. It was more like an echo. "There's something strange about this transmission," she said slowly. "The quantum resonance patterns don't match any known FTL signature. It's almost like the signal itself traveled faster than light, which should be impossible, unless they found a way to bypass the quantum foam entirely," Vexatar suggested, though her tone indicated she didn't believe it herself. The quantum foam was the underlying structure of space-time itself. Every known FTL technology worked by exploiting tiny gaps in the foam or by carefully threading through its complex patterns. The idea of bypassing it entirely was like suggesting someone could walk through a solid wall by pretending it wasn't there. Korthak was already moving toward the chamber's exit. "I'm leaving immediately. We need to know what we're dealing with before these humans decide to expand their peaceful contact efforts." "Wait," HFY called after him. "Take sensors specifically designed for predecessor technology, and keep your weapons powered but hidden. If they have found an artifact, we need to be prepared for anything." As Korthak left to prepare his ship, HFY continued studying the human transmission. Something about it bothered her, but she couldn't identify what. The message was straightforward enough, a request for contact from a newly FTL-capable species. But the background data told a different story. The signal had somehow reached them faster than light speed should allow. The transmission itself had been sent from multiple locations simultaneously. And there was that strange quantum echo, like reality itself was ringing like a struck bell. 3 hours later, the Vigilant Dawn departed from Council Station with a full diplomatic team and enough firepower to level a moon. Korthak had insisted on the weapons, despite the peaceful nature of the human message. In his experience, species that made impossible claims usually turned out to be more dangerous than they appeared. The journey to the Sol system would take 2 days using conventional Council FTL technology. As his ship entered the quantum tunnel that would carry them across space, Korthak reviewed everything they knew about humans. The information was sparse. A young species, aggressive but not particularly advanced, recently emerged from a global conflict that had nearly destroyed their planet. On paper, they looked like typical pre-FTL primitives, the kind of species the Council usually ignored until they developed proper space travel. But something had changed, and Korthak intended to find out what. As the Vigilant Dawn traveled through the twisted corridors of quantum space, heading toward an impossible meeting with an impossible species, Korthak couldn't shake the feeling that the universe was about to become a much more dangerous place. Behind them, at Council Station, HFY continued analyzing the human transmission. The more she studied it, the more worried she became. The quantum echoes were getting stronger, spreading outward from the Sol system like ripples in a pond. It was almost as if reality itself was trying to heal from some kind of wound. Captain Sarah Chen floated in the zero gravity of her ship's bridge, watching the Council vessel approach through the main display. The alien ship was beautiful in its way, all smooth curves and flowing lines that seemed to bend light around them. It looked like art compared to the angular practical design of her own vessel. "They're hailing us," reported Lieutenant Torres from the communications station. "Standard diplomatic frequencies, though their translation software is having trouble with our response protocols." Chen smiled. "Tell them we're happy to meet them and invite them aboard for a tour. Make sure to mention that we're excited to show them our FTL system." Torres raised an eyebrow but followed orders. Within minutes, the alien response came back, a mixture of curiosity and caution that translated through their computers as formal diplomatic language. They would send a small delegation. An hour later, Chen stood in the airlock waiting for their guests. When the door opened, she got her first look at real aliens, The tall one with purple scales was obviously military. His posture screamed soldier despite the strange body shape. The smaller one with compound eyes and insect-like features carried scientific instruments and radiated nervous energy. "Welcome aboard the UES Breakthrough," Chen said, extending her hand in the universal human gesture of greeting. "I'm Captain Sarah Chen." The insect-like alien stepped forward, her translator device rendering her clicks and chirps into English. "I am HFY, Council Xenobiologist. This is Military Advisor Korthak. We are honored by your invitation." Chen noticed the pause before honored and filed it away for later. "Would you like to see our ship? I know you must be curious about our FTL capabilities." Korthak's scales shifted color slightly. "We would be very interested in understanding your technology. Our records indicate your species achieved space travel quite recently." "That's right," Chen said cheerfully, leading them through the ship's corridors. "We've only had FTL for about 6 months now. Dr. Rodriguez finished the prototype last year, and we've been improving it ever since." The two aliens exchanged glances that Chen didn't miss. 6 months was nothing in galactic terms. Most species took centuries to develop FTL after first achieving orbit. They passed through the ship's living areas, where human crew members nodded politely to their guests. The aliens seemed particularly interested in the casual way the humans moved and interacted. No formal hierarchies or complex social protocols, just people doing their jobs. "Here we are," Chen announced as they reached the engineering deck. "The heart of our ship." The doors opened to reveal what looked like a factory floor. Massive industrial equipment surrounded a central chamber that was completely empty except for some kind of metal framework. Pipes and cables ran everywhere, connecting to control systems that looked like they had been assembled in someone's garage. "This is your FTL system?" HFY asked, her compound eyes focusing on the empty chamber. "The main drive chamber?" "Yes," Chen confirmed. "Dr. Rodriguez can explain it better than I can. Rodriguez, come meet our guests." A woman in grease-stained coveralls emerged from behind a control panel, wiping her hands on a rag. She was young, maybe 30, with the kind of intense focus that Chen recognized in all the best engineers. "Dr. Maria Rodriguez," she said, shaking hands with the aliens, despite their obvious confusion at the gesture. "I designed this beauty. Want to see how she works?" Korthak stepped closer to the chamber, his military sensors analyzing everything they could detect. "We see no quantum tunnel generators, no dimensional phase shifters. Where are the exotic matter containment systems?" Rodriguez laughed. "We don't need any of that complicated stuff. This is much simpler. See, most FTL systems try to work around the laws of physics, right? Jump through dimensions, ride quantum currents, that kind of thing. We decided to take a more direct approach." "Direct approach?" HFY's antennae twitched nervously. "We grab space-time itself and squeeze it," Rodriguez explained, pulling up a holographic display. "The Alcubierre Chen drive, named after the guy who came up with the theoretical framework and me, since I figured out how to make it actually work." The hologram showed a representation of space-time as a flexible sheet. A ship sat in the middle, while the space in front of it compressed, and the space behind it expanded. "We create a bubble of warped space-time around the ship," Rodriguez continued enthusiastically. "The space in front gets crushed down to almost nothing while the space behind gets stretched out. The ship itself never exceeds light speed locally, but the bubble carrying it can move as fast as we want." Korthak's scales had gone completely purple now. "You're directly manipulating space-time?" "Sure. It takes a lot of power, but once you get the field equations right, it's not that complicated. The hard part was building generators strong enough to actually warp space-time in the first place." HFY was studying her instruments, and what she saw made her stomach drop. The energy readings from the human ship were enormous, more than most Council vessels used for life support, weapons, and FTL combined. And it was all focused on those massive generators surrounding the empty chamber. "What about safety protocols?" she asked weakly. Surely you have safeguards against field collapse or quantum interference? Rodriguez shrugged. We've got emergency shutdown procedures, though they're not perfect. Sometimes the field takes a few seconds to dissipate, which can cause some gravitational fluctuations in nearby space. Nothing dangerous, though. We've calculated the acceptable risk thresholds. Acceptable risk thresholds? Korthak repeated slowly. Yeah. The math shows we'd have to use the drive continuously for about 50,000 years before the accumulated space-time damage became a real problem. By then, we'll probably have figured out how to fix it anyway. The two aliens stared at Rodriguez in horror. She was talking about damaging the fundamental structure of reality like it was a minor engineering concern. Would you like to see it in action? Chen offered helpfully. We were planning a test run to the Proxima system anyway. No, both aliens said simultaneously, then tried to recover their diplomatic composure. That is, HFY said carefully, we would prefer to observe from a safe distance first, to better understand your remarkable technology. Sure thing, Rodriguez said. Just keep your ship about a light year away when we fire up the drive. The gravitational waves can interfere with more delicate FTL systems. As they return to the bridge, Korthak pulled HFY aside. They're insane, he whispered. They're treating space-time like construction material. I know, HFY replied, her instruments still registering impossible energy readings from the human ship. And they've been doing this for 6 months. Do you have any idea what that means? Korthak's scales shifted to a sickly yellow. They've been punching holes in reality for 6 months, and they think it's perfectly normal. On the bridge, Chen was cheerfully explaining their plans for expanding the FTL program. We've got 15 more ships under construction, and Dr. Rodriguez's team is working on a Mark II drive that should be twice as efficient. Twice as efficient? HFY asked faintly. Yeah, we think we can reduce the power requirements and increase the maximum velocity. Maybe even figure out how to make space-time more cooperative instead of fighting us every step of the way. The aliens exchanged horrified glances. The humans weren't just damaging reality. They were planning to make it worse. The space around the human vessel began to shimmer like heat waves rising from hot pavement. Korthak watched from the bridge of the Vigilant Dawn, positioned what he hoped was a safe distance from the human ship. His sensors were going crazy, detecting energy readings that shouldn't be possible from a vessel that size. Are you certain this is wise? HFY asked for the third time, her compound eyes fixed on the displays showing impossible gravitational fluctuations around the human ship. They insisted on demonstrating their technology, Korthak replied grimly. Better we see what we're dealing with now, rather than be surprised later. Captain Chen's voice crackled over the communication system, cheerful and unconcerned. Vigilant. Dawn, we're beginning our jump sequence. You might want to record this. Our engineers back home will be interested in how our drive looks to outside sensors. Recording all frequencies, Korthak confirmed, though part of him wondered if they should be fleeing instead of observing. On the human ship, Dr. Rodriguez was running through her pre-flight checklist with the casual efficiency of someone who had done this dozens of times. Power levels at 90% and climbing. Space-time manipulation field generators online. Exotic matter containment. Well, we don't actually have any exotic matter, so skip that step. Dr. Rodriguez, Chen said from the captain's chair, our guests seem concerned about safety protocols. Want to explain what we're doing to minimize risk? Rodriguez glanced up from her controls. Sure. We're keeping the field strength below critical threshold to avoid tearing holes in space-time. The gravitational shear is within acceptable limits, and we've calculated the probable quantum foam disruption. As long as we don't exceed 80% field strength, the universe should handle it just fine. Through the communication link, they could hear HFY make a sound that the translator couldn't interpret. It sounded like someone choking. Field strength at 95%, Rodriguez announced. Beginning space-time compression sequence in 3, 2, 1. Reality screamed. There was no other word for what happened. The space around the human ship twisted and buckled as impossible forces grabbed the fabric of the universe and squeezed it like putty. The breakthrough disappeared into a bubble of warped space-time that hurt to look at directly. On the Council ship, every alarm started blaring at once. Gravitational wave detectors overloaded. Quantum sensors registered readings that their computers insisted were impossible. Space itself seemed to ring like a struck bell, sending ripples of distortion racing outward at the speed of light. "By the great void!" Korthak whispered, his scales turning white with shock. "They're not using FTL technology. They're beating physics into submission." The bubble of twisted space containing the human ship shot away faster than anything should be able to move. In seconds, it had covered several light years, leaving behind a trail of gravitational disturbances that made space itself look sick. Zexhi's instruments were detecting something that made her blood freeze. "Korthak, look at this. The quantum foam where they departed. It's not stable anymore. There are microfractures in space-time itself. Will they heal? Eventually, maybe in a few thousand years, but if they keep doing this..." She didn't need to finish the sentence. They both understood the implications. 20 minutes later, the human ship reappeared in a fresh explosion of tortured physics. The arrival was even worse than the departure. Space-time snapped back into its normal configuration like a rubber band, sending shock waves of gravitational distortion racing outward. "That was fantastic." Rodriguez's voice came over the communication system. "We covered 12 light years in 18 minutes. That's our best time yet," Captain Chen added. "We tested our new navigation system, too. Dropped out of FTL right next to a pulsar, took some readings, and jumped back. Your sensors probably detected the gravitational anomalies from the neutron star. You went to the Kepler." "Pulsar?" Zexhi asked in disbelief. "That's one of the most dangerous gravitational fields in this sector." Dr. Rodriguez wanted to test how our drive handles extreme space-time curvature, Chen explained casually. "Turns out our field generators work even better near massive objects, something about the existing gravitational distortion making it easier to warp space." Korthak felt something that might have been panic. "You're using pulsars to boost your FTL efficiency?" "Not just pulsars. Black holes work great too, though you have to be careful about the event horizon. We lost a probe that way last month. Got too close and the field collapsed. The probe got spaghettified, but we learned a lot about field stability limits." The casual way they discussed losing equipment to black holes made both aliens want to scream. This wasn't advanced physics. This was cosmic vandalism performed by maniacs who thought reality was a construction project. "Captain Chen," Zexhi said carefully, "have you considered the long-term effects of your FTL technology? The damage to space-time, the gravitational disruptions." "Oh, sure, we've run all the calculations. Dr. Rodriguez's team has a whole department working on it. The cumulative damage from our current fleet operations won't cause any serious problems for at least 50,000 years. By then, we'll probably have figured out how to repair space-time anyway." "Repair space-time?" Korthak's voice cracked. "Sure. We're already working on some preliminary theories. Dr. Martinez thinks we might be able to reverse the quantum foam damage by running the field generators in reverse, kind of like cosmic duct tape for reality." Rodriguez's voice joined the conversation. "Actually, we're hoping to do better than just repair the damage. I've got some ideas about how we might be able to upgrade space-time to be more efficient, reduce the universal speed limit, maybe optimize some of the fundamental constants." Both aliens stared at their communication displays in horror. The humans weren't content with damaging reality. They wanted to remodel it. "We should probably head back," Chen announced. "Our engineers are waiting for the sensor data, and we've got 3 more ships ready for their maiden FTL flights tomorrow." 3 more ships? Zexhi squeaked. "The production line is really hitting its stride now. We should have 50 FTL-capable vessels within the year, and Dr. Rodriguez thinks she can have the Mark II drive ready for testing by next month." As the human ship powered up its reality-shredding drive for the return journey, Korthak and Zexhi could only watch in stunned silence. These humans had taken 6 months to go from a single prototype to mass production of universe-damaging technology. The space around the breakthrough twisted again as the drive engaged. This time, the aliens were ready for the visual distortion, but it still made them queasy to watch physics being tortured. The human ship vanished into its bubble of warped space-time, leaving behind another set of microfractures in reality. "We need to contact the Council immediately," Korthak said, his voice hollow with shock. "This changes everything." Zexhi was still staring at her instruments, watching the quantum foam slowly try to heal itself from the wounds the humans had inflicted. "They have no idea what they're doing. They're treating the fundamental forces of the universe like engineering problems." The worst part, Korthak realized with growing dread, is that their approach actually works. They're not using advanced physics or elegant solutions. They're just hitting reality with a big enough hammer until it gives them what they want. As the Vigilant Dawn prepared for its own, much gentler FTL journey back to Council space, both aliens found themselves wondering the same thing. If the humans could master space-time manipulation in 6 months, what would they accomplish in a year? The thought terrified them more than any weapon ever had. The emergency session of the Galactic Council had been called within hours of the Vigilant Dawn's return. Representatives from all major species filled the great chamber, their various forms of communication creating a babble of sounds that the universal translators struggled to process. At the center of it all, Korthak and Zexhi stood before the assembly, trying to explain something that defied explanation. "Let me understand this correctly," said Counselor Vextar, her crystalline form pulsing with agitated light patterns. "These humans have developed FTL technology that literally damages space-time itself, and they consider this acceptable?" "More than acceptable," Korthak replied grimly. "They're proud of it. They see it as an elegant engineering solution to the problem of faster-than-light travel." A collective shudder ran through the assembly. The concept of treating the fundamental structure of reality as an engineering problem was so alien to their way of thinking that many representatives struggled to process it. Counselor Thekvar, speaking for the ancient Spiral Confederation, raised what might have been an arm. "In our 12,000 years of space travel, we have never encountered a species that approached physics with such brutality. How did they even conceive of such methods?" Zexhi activated her display, showing the council the sensor readings from the human demonstration. The graphs and charts painted a picture of cosmic violence that made several representatives physically recoil. "They appear to think of the universe as something to be conquered rather than understood," she explained. "When faced with the light speed barrier, they didn't look for ways to work within physical laws. They decided to overwhelm them with brute force." "But surely they understand the consequences," asked Ambassador Yilthara from the Ethereal Collective. "The quantum foam damage, the gravitational disturbances. These effects will accumulate over time. They've calculated that they have 50,000 years before the damage becomes critical," Korthak said. "They consider this someone else's problem." The chamber erupted in shocked exclamations. 50,000 years might seem like a long time to a short-lived species like humans, but for civilizations that had existed for millions of years, it was barely a moment. "They're treating the universe like a disposable resource," Vextar declared, her light patterns shifting to angry reds and oranges. "This cannot be allowed to continue." General Zorthak of the Hegemony Defense Force stood up, his massive frame casting shadows across the chamber. "The military implications are staggering. If they can mass-produce these drives, they could field a fleet capable of striking anywhere in the galaxy without warning. Our defense networks are based on predictable FTL travel patterns." "It gets worse," Korthak added reluctantly. "They're planning to share the technology. Captain Chen mentioned something about technology exchange agreements with any species interested in trade relations." The horror of this statement settled over the assembly like a toxic cloud. The idea of multiple species using reality-damaging FTL technology was too terrible to contemplate. "We have to stop them," declared Counselor Mordak of the warrior clans. "Send a fleet. Demand they cease this cosmic vandalism immediately." "And if they refuse?" Zexhi asked quietly. "Their technology makes them essentially impossible to catch. They can appear anywhere, anytime, with no warning. And they're already talking about using their drives near black holes and pulsars for increased efficiency." The implications were clear. Any attempt at military action against the humans would be fighting an enemy that could literally rewrite local physics to gain an advantage. "There's something else," Zexhi continued, bringing up additional data. "My analysis of their ship's construction suggests they've been working on this technology for less than 2 years. The speed of their development is unprecedented." "How is that possible?" Vextar's light patterns flickered with confusion. "Most species take centuries to develop stable FTL because they don't care about stability in the way we understand it," Korthak explained. "They build something that works, test it until it stops exploding, and call it good enough. Their entire approach is based on acceptable risk rather than perfect safety." Counselor Thekvar spoke again, his ancient voice heavy with concern. "In all our recorded history, we have never encountered a species that achieved advanced technology through such reckless methods. They're not following any known development pattern." "That's because they're not developing," Zexhi realized with growing horror. "They're engineering. Every other species in the Council learned to understand physics first, then carefully apply that knowledge. The humans look at a physical law and ask, 'How do we break this?'" The chamber fell silent as the full implications sank in. They weren't dealing with a species that had advanced through normal scientific progress. They were facing something unprecedented. A civilization of problem solvers who treated the fundamental forces of existence as obstacles to overcome. "What else are they working on?" General Zorthak asked grimly. Korthak consulted his notes with obvious reluctance. "Dr. Rodriguez mentioned something called a Mark II drive that would be twice as efficient. They're also researching what they call space-time optimization. Apparently, they want to make reality work better." "Make reality work better?" Vextar's form flickered with disbelief. "They think the universal speed limit is too slow and some of the fundamental constants are inefficient," Zexhi explained. "Dr. Rodriguez suggested they might be able to upgrade space-time itself." The silence that followed was broken only by the soft humming of the chamber's life support systems. The idea of a species trying to upgrade the universe was so beyond normal comprehension that most representatives couldn't even formulate a response. "There's more," Korthak said, though. He looked like he didn't want to continue. "Intelligence reports from their home system indicate they're working on other projects. Something about optimizing black holes for energy production and research into reversible heat death." Counselor Mordak's warrior instincts kicked in. "We need to act now, before they develop something even more dangerous." "Act how?" Zexhi challenged. "They've already built dozens of ships with reality-warping capabilities. They're sharing the technology with their entire species, and they genuinely believe they're being helpful by offering to share it with us." "Perhaps we could reason with them," suggested Ambassador Yilthara hopefully. "Explain the dangers, help them understand the consequences of their actions." Korthak's scales shifted to a pessimistic gray. "I tried. They listened politely, thanked me for my concern, and then offered to help us upgrade our own FTL systems to be more efficient." The futility of the situation was becoming clear. The humans weren't malicious or evil. They were something potentially worse. They were helpful engineers who saw the universe as a home improvement project. "What about economic sanctions?" suggested Counselor Vextar. "Cut off all trade, isolate them until they agree to stop." "They don't need our trade," Zexhi pointed. "Out. Their technology is advancing so rapidly they'll probably surpass us within a few years anyway." And they're genuinely excited about making new friends. Isolation would just confuse them. General Zorthak was studying tactical displays, trying to find some military solution to an impossible problem. Their ships are fast and unpredictable, but they're still relatively small. A coordinated strike with overwhelming force would accomplish what exactly? Korthak interrupted. Destroy a few ships while they build hundreds more. And what happens when they decide we're being unreasonably hostile and start treating us as an engineering problem to solve? The chamber fell into a grim silence as everyone contemplated that possibility. A species that could casually manipulate space-time might have very creative solutions to the problem of hostile neighbors. We're facing something completely new, HFY said finally. A species that doesn't follow any of our models for technological development or political interaction. They're not conquerors or explorers or even scientists in any sense we understand. They're cosmic engineers who think reality needs improvement. As the emergency session continued deep into the night, one fact became increasingly clear. The universe had just become a much more dangerous place, not because of evil or aggression, but because of good intentions applied with terrifying competence. Ambassador Jennifer Williams stepped into the Grand Assembly chamber with the confident stride of someone who had successfully negotiated everything from corporate mergers to international treaties. The chamber itself was breathtaking, a massive space that seemed to bend physics just to accommodate representatives from dozens of different species. But what struck her most was the absolute silence that fell as she entered. Hundreds of alien representatives turned to look at her, and Williams felt the weight of their attention like a physical force. She had expected curiosity, maybe some diplomatic reserve. What she hadn't expected was the unmistakable aura of fear that seemed to permeate the chamber. "Thank you for inviting me to address the council," Williams began, her voice carrying clearly through the chamber's acoustic systems. "The people of Earth are honored by this opportunity to join the galactic community." Councillor Vextar's crystalline form pulsed with what Williams hoped was agreement. "Ambassador Williams, we have concerns about your species' recent technological developments." Williams smiled brightly. "Oh, you mean our FTL drives? Yes, we're quite proud of those. Dr. Rodriguez and her team really outdid themselves. We went from theoretical framework to mass production in record time." A collective shudder ran through the assembly at the phrase, mass production. General Zorthak leaned forward, his massive form intimidating even across the vast chamber. "Ambassador, do you understand what your FTL technology actually does to space-time?" "Of course," Williams replied cheerfully. "It creates localized distortions in the quantum foam to achieve faster-than-light travel. Dr. Rodriguez explained it to me several times, though I'll admit the math is a bit over my head." "And the long-term consequences?" HFY asked from her position near the scientific advisory panel. Williams consulted her tablet, scrolling through briefing notes. "According to our calculations, the cumulative damage from our current fleet, operations won't pose any significant risk for approximately 50,000 years. Our scientists are confident we'll have developed repair techniques long before then." The phrase, repair techniques, caused what could only be described as panic among several representatives. Ambassador Yilthara of the Ethereal Collective raised what might have been an appendage. "Ambassador, do you truly believe that space-time itself can be repaired?" "Well, sure," Williams said, genuinely confused by the question. "If you can damage something, you should be able to fix it, right? Dr. Rodriguez already has some preliminary theories about running the field generators in reverse to heal quantum foam fractures." Councillor Thekvar, speaking for one of the galaxy's oldest civilizations, found his voice. "In 12 millennia of space travel, no species has ever attempted to modify the fundamental structure of reality." Williams brightened at this. "Really? That explains why FTL technology has been so limited. You've all been trying to work around physical laws instead of through them. It's like trying to get through a locked door by finding the key instead of just breaking it down. The analogy sent waves of horror through the assembly. William seemed to notice the reaction and tried to be reassuring. Don't worry, we're happy to share our findings with everyone. That's one of the reasons I'm here today. Dr. Rodriguez thinks. She can help optimize your existing FTL systems to be much more efficient. Optimize our FTL systems. General Zorthak's voice carried a note of panic. Sure. Right now you're all using these complicated workarounds. Quantum tunnels, dimensional phase shifts, exotic matter manipulation. But you could get much better. Performance by just grabbing space-time directly. We could have your fleet speeds doubled within a year. Williams noticed that several representatives seemed to be having trouble breathing, though she couldn't imagine why. She consulted her notes. Again. Actually, fleet optimization is just one of our current projects. Dr. Martinez's team is working on something really exciting. They think they might be able to optimize black holes for more efficient energy extraction. Imagine being able to power entire star systems from a single stellar mass black hole. Vextar's light patterns were flickering in what Williams would have recognized as distress if she had understood alien biology. You're planning to modify black holes? Well, not modify exactly, more like upgrade them. Current black holes are terribly inefficient. They just sit there converting matter to energy through Hawking radiation. But if you could adjust the space-time, curvature just a little, increase the extraction rate. Williams trailed off, noticing that several representatives appeared to have fainted. Others were making sounds that the universal translators couldn't process. Is everyone all right? She asked with genuine concern. Did I say something wrong? Korthak found his voice, though it came out as barely a whisper. Ambassador Williams, are there any limits to what your species considers possible to engineer? Williams thought about this seriously. Well, there are always constraints, energy requirements, materials science, that kind of thing. But Dr. Rodriguez's philosophy is that any physical process can be optimized with enough engineering effort. Right now, we're looking into something she calls Project Bootstrap. Project Bootstrap? Zexhai asked faintly. It's really ambitious, Williams said, her enthusiasm growing. The team thinks they might be able to identify inefficiencies in the Big Bang itself and develop techniques for retroactive optimization. Imagine if we could give the universe a small efficiency upgrade right from the beginning. The silence that followed was so complete that Williams wondered if the translation systems had failed. Finally, Counselor Mordak spoke. You want to optimize the Big Bang? Just a little bit, Williams assured him. Nothing major, just some tweaks to improve universal expansion efficiency and maybe adjust a few fundamental constants. Doctor, Rodriguez thinks we could increase the speed of light by 15% without breaking anything important. Several more representatives appeared to have lost consciousness. Williams was starting to worry that there might be some kind of medical emergency, but everyone seemed to be breathing normally. Ambassador, Vextar said carefully, has your species considered that some things might be better left alone? Williams looked genuinely puzzled. Why? I mean, if you can make something work better, isn't it your responsibility to try? That's how we've approached every challenge in our history. Climate change, energy crisis, space travel. You identify the problem and engineer a solution. But what if the solution causes other problems? Zexhai asked desperately. Then you engineer solutions to those problems too, Williams replied, as if it was obvious. That's what engineering is, solving problems as they come up. Dr. Rodriguez says the key is to think of the universe as one big system that just needs proper maintenance and the occasional upgrade. As Williams continued explaining humanity's approach to existence with cheerful optimism, the representatives of dozens of ancient civilizations came to a terrifying realization. They weren't dealing with a species that had discovered advanced technology. They were facing engineers who had looked at the fundamental forces of creation and decided they could do better. Well, I should probably get going, Williams said, checking her watch. We've got 3 more ships completing their first FTL tests today, and Dr. Rodriguez wants to show me the preliminary specs for the Mark III drive. She thinks she can get the efficiency up to where we're barely damaging space-time at all. As she gathered her materials, Williams added cheerfully, "Oh, and we're planning to establish permanent research stations near several pulsars and a few black holes. Nothing intrusive, just some basic measurements to help us understand how to work with extreme gravitational fields. We'll send you the data. I'm sure your scientists will find it interesting." With that, she waved goodbye and headed for the chamber exit, leaving behind a room full of alien representatives who were finally beginning to understand what they were dealing with. After Williams left, the chamber remained silent for several minutes. Finally, Vextar spoke for all of them. "They're going to optimize the universe whether we want them to or not, aren't they?" "Yes," Korthak replied grimly, "and they're going to be friendly and helpful about it the entire time." Outside the chamber, Ambassador Williams boarded her shuttle with a satisfied smile. The meeting had gone well, she thought. The aliens seemed very interested in human technology, and she was sure they'd come around to humanity's way of thinking once they saw the results. As her shuttle departed, its Alcubierre Chen drive carved another set of microfractures in space-time, adding to the growing pattern of quantum foam damage that surrounded every human vessel. Behind her, reality slowly began the long process of trying to heal itself, while somewhere in human space, Dr. Rodriguez was putting the finishing touches on a drive system that would make space-time twice as cooperative as before. The universe, it seemed, was about to get a comprehensive makeover whether it wanted one or not.
Commander Alex Nichols sat in the captain's chair on the bridge of the USS Valiant. This was humanity's first true warship capable of traveling between stars. His heart beat faster as he looked at the main screen showing the vastness of space before them. "All systems are ready, Commander," said Lieutenant Commander Patrick Walsh, standing beside him. "The wormhole drive is at full power." Alex nodded. "Then it's time. Let's make history." He didn't say it out loud, but Alex knew the weight on his shoulders. Back on Earth, resources were running out. Climate problems were getting worse. The United Nations Space Command had worked in secret for years to develop the technology that now powered the Valiant. They could create controlled wormholes, allowing the ship to cross huge distances that would take other spacecraft centuries. "Wormhole. Generation in 3, 2, 1, called out Heather Collins, the chief engineer who had helped design the revolutionary drive. The space in front of the Valiant seemed to twist. A blue-white tunnel opened up, swirling with energy that the scientists back home still didn't fully understand. "Take us in," Alex ordered. The ship moved forward, entering the wormhole. For a brief moment, everyone on the bridge felt a strange sensation, as if their bodies were being stretched and compressed at the same time. Then it passed, and the stars on the view screen changed. "Wormhole transit complete," Heather announced. All systems functioning normally. Alex released the breath he'd been holding. "Position?" Olivia Martinez, the communications officer, checked her readings. "Exactly where we plan to be, sir. We're in the Proxima Centauri system, approaching the science outpost. The mission was supposed to be simple. The Valiant would visit the small human science station orbiting Proxima Centauri b, the closest exoplanet to Earth. It was a demonstration mission, showing that Earth now had the ability to protect its interests beyond the solar system." "I'm not picking up any signals from the outpost," Olivia said, her voice growing concerned. "Standard protocols require them to respond to any approaching vessel." Alex frowned. "Scan the area." Kyle Garcia, the tactical officer, ran his hands over his console. "Sir, I'm detecting debris in the outpost's orbit, a lot of debris." "On screen," Alex ordered. The main view screen changed to show fragments of metal and other materials scattered across space. It was clear these were the remains of the science outpost. "Life signs?" Alex asked, though he already feared the answer. "None, sir," Kyle replied grimly. The bridge fell silent. The outpost had been home to 32 scientists and support staff. Now, all that remained were floating pieces of their station. "There's something else," Kyle added. The damage pattern doesn't match any natural occurrence. The outpost was attacked. Alex stood up from his chair, walking closer to the screen. By whom? We haven't detected any other spacefaring civilizations. Sir, Olivia called out, I'm picking up fragments of data from the outpost's emergency buoy. It ejected before the destruction. What does it tell us? Olivia worked to piece together the damaged files. It's not complete, but there are images and some log entries. She put them on screen. The crew watched as grainy footage showed strange ships approaching the station. They didn't look like anything built by humans. The final log entry was from Dr. Sam Winters, the outpost's lead researcher. This is Dr. Sam Winters of Proxima Science Outpost. We've made contact with non-human vessels. They appeared without warning and seemed to view our presence as hostile. We've tried to communicate peaceful intentions, but they've begun firing on the station. If anyone receives this, Earth needs to know we're not alone, and not all aliens are friendly. The message cut off there. Alex turned to his officers. Options? We should return to Earth immediately, Patrick suggested. Report what we've found and let the UNSC decide the next steps. Kyle disagreed. Those ships killed our people. We should try to track them, learn who they are and why they attacked. Can we follow them? Alex asked. Heather nodded. The attack was recent. Their engines would have left traces we can follow. Alex considered his options. The mission parameters didn't cover first contact with hostile aliens. The safe choice was to return home. But that would mean leaving the deaths of 32 humans unanswered. We follow them, he decided. But carefully. The Valiant has stealth capabilities. We'll observe only, gather intelligence, and avoid engagement. The ship's advanced systems were able to detect the trail left by the alien vessels. For 3 days they followed the faint energy signatures, moving deeper into unexplored space. I've got something, Kyle announced on the 4th day. A massive structure orbiting a gas giant in this system. On screen, they saw a space station, unlike anything humans had built. It was enormous, with sections that rotated around a central hub. Ships of various designs moved around it, following organized patterns. Activate full stealth protocols, Alex ordered. Keep us at maximum scanning range. As they observed, the crew of the Valiant began to understand the truth. They hadn't just found a few alien ships. They had stumbled upon an entire civilization, possibly many civilizations working together. The traffic around the station suggested an organization spanning multiple star systems. Sir, Olivia said in a hushed voice, based on the communications I'm intercepting, this appears to be some kind of outpost for something called the Galactic Concordat. From what I can piece together, it's an alliance of 17 different species. Alex felt a chill run down his spine. Humanity had just built its first proper warship, thinking it was ready to protect its interests among the stars. Now they discovered they were like children who had wandered into the middle of an adult conversation. They're talking about us, Olivia continued. About the outpost. It seems it was some kind of automated defense system that fired first. They thought our scientists were members of some marauding species they've had problems with. Before Alex could respond, Kyle called out, Commander, we've got a problem. A patrol fleet is changing course, heading in our direction. Their sensors must have picked up something. Can they detect us through our stealth systems? Alex asked. I don't think so, Heather replied. But they've noticed something unusual and are coming to investigate. Alex faced the hardest decision of his career. They could retreat now, taking the vital intelligence back to Earth. Humanity would learn they weren't alone and could prepare for possible future contact. Or they could reveal themselves now, on their terms, rather than being discovered. Sir, Patrick urged, we should leave. We're one ship. We don't know their capabilities or intentions. Alex looked at the alien fleet on the screen. 17 ships of various sizes, all moving toward their position with clear purpose. If we run, we look guilty, Alex said. And we learn nothing more. Earth deserves to know what we're facing. He took a deep breath and made his decision. Disengage stealth systems. Power up our defenses but keep weapons offline. Open a channel using the first contact protocols. As the Valiant became visible to the alien ships, Alex Nichols prepared to become the first human to officially speak to members of a galactic civilization. Whatever happened next would change the course of human history forever. The alien ships quickly surrounded the Valiant. Alex stood on the bridge, his face calm despite the racing of his heart. The main screen showed 17 vessels of different sizes and shapes. Each looked more advanced than anything humans had built. "They formed a defensive pattern around us," said Kyle Garcia, the tactical officer. "Weapon systems are active but not targeting us yet." Alex nodded. "Olivia, any response to our message?" Communications officer Olivia Martinez listened carefully through her earpiece. "Nothing clear yet, sir, but I'm detecting transmissions between their ships. They seem surprised." Lieutenant Commander Patrick Walsh moved closer to Alex. "This was a mistake," he whispered. "We're completely outgunned." "Maybe," Alex replied quietly. "But look at their formation. They're being careful. They could have opened fire immediately." Patrick didn't look convinced. "Or they're just deciding what to do with us." The largest alien ship, shaped like a flattened diamond with glowing blue engines, positioned itself directly in front of the Valiant. It was at least 3 times their size. "We're receiving a transmission from the large vessel," Olivia announced. "It contains mathematical sequences, similar to our first contact protocols." "They're trying to establish basic communication," Alex said. "Respond with the next sequences in the pattern and prepare the universal translator." For the next hour, the Valiant's crew worked to establish a common language with the aliens. Olivia led the effort, sending increasingly complex mathematical and scientific concepts back and forth until simple language could be exchanged. "I think we can communicate now," Olivia finally said. "It's rough, but the translation algorithms are adapting quickly." "Put them on screen," Alex ordered. The view screen changed to show the interior of the alien vessel. The being in the center wasn't humanoid. It had 4 upper limbs and blue-gray skin that seemed to shimmer with a metallic quality. 2 large, compound eyes dominated its face, and it wore what appeared to be a uniform with symbols along the shoulders. "I am Admiral Zach Thal of the Aquilan Guard, Concordat Defense Fleet," the alien said, the translator converting its clicks and whistles into English. "You are operating an unknown vessel in Concordat space. Identify yourselves immediately." Alex stepped forward. "I am Commander Alex Nichols of the United Nations Space Command vessel Valiant. We are representatives of humanity from the planet Earth." The alien's upper limbs moved in what might have been surprise. "Earth? That is not possible. Earth is a protected world under Concordat non-interference directives. Your species is classified as pre-spacefaring." Alex exchanged glances with his officers. "We developed this technology independently. We weren't aware of any Concordat until recently." "That is unexpected," Admiral Zekathal replied. "Our records indicate your species should not achieve wormhole technology for at least another 300 years. "Why were our people at the Proxima Centauri outpost killed?" Alex asked directly. The alien made a sound that the translator couldn't interpret. "An unfortunate error. The automated defense systems at our monitoring post identified your primitive structures as belonging to the Vesh, a marauding species that attacks our outposts. By the time living operators realized the mistake, the defense systems had already fired." "You've been monitoring us?" Patrick asked. "All developing worlds are monitored," Zekathal answered, as if this were obvious, "for their protection and to assess when they might be ready to join the wider galactic community." Alex felt a chill. How long had these aliens been watching Earth without humans knowing? "Commander Nichols," the alien continued, "your ship's sudden appearance and its technological capabilities have created a significant situation. The High Council must be informed. You will accompany us to Harmonious Convergence Station." "It wasn't a request." "And if we decline?" Alex asked carefully. The alien's body language changed subtly. "That would be unwise. Your ship is impressive for a species at your development stage, but you are surrounded by 17 vessels of the most advanced fleet in this sector of the galaxy." Alex considered their options. Fighting was out of the question. Running might be possible. The Valiant's wormhole drive could activate quickly, but that would mean returning to Earth with an alien alliance potentially viewing humanity as hostile. We will accompany you, Alex decided, but we remain on our vessel, and we expect assurances of safe passage. Admiral Zakathal seemed to consider this. Acceptable. Follow our lead ship and maintain your current power levels. Any attempt to activate weapons or your unusual drive system will be considered hostile action. The communication ended. Are you sure about this, sir? Patrick asked. No, Alex admitted. But we need to know more about this Concordat and what it means for Earth. If they've been monitoring us for years, they already know where to find Earth. Running doesn't protect our home. The journey took 6 hours at sublight speeds. As they traveled, Olivia intercepted and translated communications between the Concordat ships. Sir, they're very confused by us, she reported. From what I can gather, they have some kind of system for classifying developing species. Earth is listed as Category 3, a world that has achieved basic spaceflight but is centuries from interstellar travel. They underestimated human ingenuity, Kyle said with a hint of pride. Or they were basing their timeline on natural technological progression, added Heather Collins, the chief engineer. Our wormhole drive was a breakthrough that jumped ahead dozens of steps in the normal development process. As they approached their destination, the main screen showed a massive structure coming into view. Harmonious Convergence Station was shaped like a giant wheel, with sections rotating at different speeds to create artificial gravity. At its center was a sphere that glowed with a blue-white light. The entire station was nearly 30 kilometers across. Look at the traffic, Patrick whispered. Hundreds of ships moved around the station in careful patterns. Some were small, perhaps, for personal transport. Others were huge, dwarfing even the Concordat military vessels that escorted them. The designs varied wildly, suggesting many different species and civilizations. I'm detecting at least 30 different ship configurations, Kyle reported. Some using technology unlike anything in our database. Alex felt overwhelmed. Humanity had just taken its first tentative steps into interstellar space, thinking they were pioneers. Instead, they had stumbled into a bustling galactic community that had existed for who knew how long. Sir, Olivia said urgently, I'm picking up a lot of communications about us. Our arrival is causing, I think the best word is commotion. Many ships are changing course to observe us. We've become the main attraction at the zoo, Patrick muttered. Their escort guided them to a docking area large enough to accommodate the Valiant. As they approached, Admiral Zakathal contacted them again. Commander Nichols, you and a small delegation are invited to meet with the Sector Council. They will determine how to proceed regarding your unexpected emergence. What does that mean for us? Alex asked. That depends entirely on how the Council views your sudden appearance, the alien replied. Some will see it as a fascinating development. Others will consider it a dangerous anomaly. And which are you, Admiral? Alex asked. The alien was silent for a moment. I have lived long enough to know that the unexpected often changes the order of things. Whether that change is good or bad remains to be seen. As the Valiant docked with the massive station, Alex selected his delegation, Olivia for communications, Heather to explain their technology, and Kyle for security assessment. Patrick would remain in command of the ship. Remember, Alex told his team as they prepared to leave the ship, everything we do now represents not just ourselves or the Valiant, but all of humanity. We've just changed Earth's future in ways we can't even imagine yet. Together, they stepped toward the airlock, ready to formally introduce humanity to the galactic stage. Alex and his small team stepped through the airlock onto Harmonious Convergence Station. They were met by 4 aliens of different species. The one in front resembled Admiral Zakathal, but wore clothing with more elaborate markings. I am Diplomat, Khazar of the Aquilan Diplomatic Corps, the alien said. These are representatives from the Sector Council who will escort you to the meeting chamber. Alex nodded. Thank you for receiving us. We come in peace. An interesting claim, said another alien, this one tall and thin with pale skin that seemed almost transparent. considering you arrived in a warship. The Valiant is a defensive vessel, Alex replied calmly. We didn't know what we might encounter. Khazar made a gesture that might have been the equivalent of clearing his throat. Please follow us. The council is waiting. As they walked through the station, Alex and his team tried not to stare. The corridors were filled with beings of all shapes and sizes. Some looked almost human, while others were completely unlike anything they had seen before. There were floating creatures that seemed made of light, insect-like beings working on wall panels, and entities that moved on multiple legs or tentacles. This station serves as the administrative center for this sector of the Concordat, Khazar explained. Representatives from all 17 member species maintain offices here. How large is the Concordat? Heather asked, her engineer's mind trying to grasp the scale. Our territory spans approximately 1/8 of this galaxy, the diplomat answered. About 30,000 star systems, though not all are inhabited. The humans exchanged glances. Earth's ambitions of exploring the stars suddenly seemed very small. They entered a large circular room with tiered seating. In the center was a round table with 17 chairs, each different to accommodate the various alien physiologies. The room was already filled with representatives, who fell silent as the humans entered. The human delegation will now address the Sector Council, announced a voice from overhead. Alex stepped forward. I am Commander Alex Nichols of Earth. With me are Communications Officer Olivia Martinez, Chief Engineer Heather Collins, and Tactical Officer Kyle Garcia. We represent the United Nations Space Command and, by extension, the people of Earth. A being that looked like a large mantis stood up. I am Counselor Zith Ak of the Zarn Collective, head of the Classification Committee. Your presence here violates countless protocols. Earth is designated as a Category 3 developing world, centuries away from wormhole technology. Explain how you acquired this capability. Heather stepped forward. The wormhole drive was developed through a breakthrough in quantum field manipulation. We discovered that by creating specific energy patterns, we could fold space-time in a controlled manner. Impossible, declared another alien, this one seemingly made of connected crystal structures. Our models indicate that breakthrough should not occur for at least 300 years in your species' development timeline. Perhaps your models are wrong, Kyle suggested, the crystal being made a sound like breaking glass. Our models are based on observations of thousands of developing species over millions of years. Alex raised his hand to calm the situation. We don't mean any disrespect. Humans have always been innovative when faced with challenges. Our world is dealing with resource depletion and climate change. The drive was developed out of necessity. A small alien with large eyes spoke next. I am Counselor Plex of the Nith Collective. We must consider the possibility that the humans were uplifted by an outside influence. Perhaps the Solari, or even the Forbidden Ones. This caused murmuring among the council members. We weren't uplifted by anyone, Olivia insisted. Everything we've accomplished has been through our own efforts. A muscular reptilian alien stood up forcefully. I am War Leader Gorax of the Krell Dominion. The question is not how they acquired this technology, but what to do about it. I propose immediate quarantine of the Sol system until we determine if they pose a threat. We don't pose any threat, Alex said firmly. We came here seeking answers about our destroyed outpost. We didn't even know your Concordat existed until a few days ago. The council erupted into argument, with different factions taking sides. Some seemed curious about humans, others frightened, and some appeared angry. Alex noticed that the smaller or newer-looking species seemed more supportive, while the clearly dominant species were more hostile. During a pause in the debate, Olivia leaned close to Alex. Sir, I've been analyzing their database access points while they argue. There's something strange. They have extensive files on Earth, including human genetic samples dating back thousands of years. How extensive? Alex whispered. Very. They've been studying us since before recorded history. A tall, glowing being that seemed made of pure energy raised a limb, and the room fell silent. I am Elder Eliana of the Solari. Perhaps we should allow the humans to fully demonstrate their capabilities before we make judgments. Commander Nichols, is there anything else we should know about your vessel? Alex made a quick decision. This was the moment to change the balance of power. Yes, Elder Eliana. The Valiant's drive system has another capability we haven't mentioned. It creates a quantum entanglement link with Earth. We can communicate instantaneously, across any distance. The room went completely silent. Even the translator seemed to struggle with the reaction. That technology doesn't exist in the Concordat, said the crystal being finally. It does now, Kyle said with a slight smile. The council members began talking all at once. Some were calling for immediate trade negotiations. Others wanted to restrict humans from sharing the technology. The Krell war leader was demanding the impounding of the Valiant for security purposes. Alex noticed something else happening around the edges of the room. Representatives from smaller species were quietly communicating with each other, forming new alliances before his eyes. A small, furry alien approached Alex during the commotion. Commander, I am Trade Minister Zorix of the Velix Republic. We are considered a minor species in the Concordat. If your people would be willing to share your communication technology with us, rather than the dominant powers, we could offer resources and protection that would be very valuable to a newcomer.
Species.
Before Alex could respond, another representative joined them. Don't trust the Velix, Commander. I am Science Director Nala of the Tarian Federation. We would offer much better terms. Within minutes, Alex and his team were surrounded by representatives from various Concordat factions, all making offers and proposals. The power structure of the Concordat was fragmenting before their eyes, all because of the Valiant's arrival. Admiral Zakathal, who had been observing from the side of the room, approached Alex and pulled him aside. You've just made your species the most important variable in galactic politics, the Admiral said quietly. Some will seek to control you, others to destroy you. Few will truly wish to understand you. What would you recommend? Alex asked. Be very careful about the alliances you make here. The Concordat has maintained a certain order for millennia. Your arrival has disrupted that order in ways you cannot yet understand. As the meeting continued, Alex realized that humanity had gained an unexpected advantage. They weren't just joining the galactic community. They were reshaping it merely by existing. Whatever happened next would determine not only Earth's future but potentially the future of the entire Concordat. Looking at Olivia, who was still analyzing the alien database, Alex wondered what other secrets these aliens had been keeping about Earth, and he couldn't help but wonder if revealing themselves had been the right choice after all. After the chaotic council meeting, Alex and his team were given guest quarters on the station. The rooms were large and comfortable, with views of space through curved windows. But Chief Security Officer Grace Robinson didn't trust the generous accommodations. This is too nice, Grace said, scanning the rooms with a handheld device. Why would they give us their best quarters? Alex nodded. I agree. Double-check everything. They want to study us as much as we want to study them. Grace had joined them from the Valiant after the initial meeting. With her background in security and intelligence, Alex needed her expertise now more than ever. Sir, Olivia called from a computer terminal. I've gained access to more of their historical database. You need to see this. Alex walked over and looked at the screen. What am I seeing? Earth history, Olivia said quietly, but not the version we know. According to these records, humans have reached advanced technology levels at least 3 times before. What do you mean? The Concordat has files on human civilizations that existed thousands of years ago, civilizations that had technology similar to our 20th century level. But they all collapsed suddenly. Alex felt a chill. Natural disasters? Olivia shook her head. The records are unclear, but there are references to containment procedures and development reset protocols. Are you saying they deliberately set us back? Kyle asked, joining them. I can't be certain, Olivia replied, but the evidence suggests something like that. Before they could discuss further, their room's communication system activated. The face of Admiral Zekthal appeared on the screen. Commander Nichols, the Council has reached a preliminary decision. They wish to inspect your vessel tomorrow as a requirement for further negotiations. Alex frowned. My orders don't permit alien boarding parties on the Valiant without strict protocols. This is non-negotiable, the Admiral replied. Either comply or the Council will assume you have hostile intentions. After the call ended, Grace spoke up. They want to steal our technology. That's what this is about. I agree, said Heather. They're especially interested in the quantum entanglement communicator. No other species has developed anything similar. Alex paced the room. We need to be careful. Patrick is still on the Valiant with most of the crew. I'll warn him to be ready for anything. Just then, Lieutenant Ryan Cooper's voice came through Alex's personal communicator. Ryan had been inspecting the Valiant's hull while docked at the station. Commander, I found something concerning. There are small devices attached to our hull. They look like scanning technology, placed during the maintenance the station personnel performed. At the same time, Dr. Sam Winters, who had joined Grace on the second shuttle to the station, entered the room with his own discovery. I found genetic sampling mechanisms hidden in the atmospheric filters of our quarters, Sam reported. They're collecting our DNA. The situation was becoming clearer. The Concordat wasn't just being hospitable. They were studying the humans from every possible angle. Alex made a decision. We need to accelerate our plans. Olivia, keep digging through their database. Find anything that might give us leverage. Kyle, work with Ryan to neutralize those hull devices without alerting the station. Grace, secure these quarters against further monitoring. As they began their tasks, Peter Donovan, the Valiant's intelligence officer, contacted Alex with even worse news. Sir, I've intercepted communications between military vessels. A faction led by the Krell is planning to seize the Valiant. They want to prevent our return to Earth until they can implement what they're calling containment protocols. When? Alex asked sharply. Within the next 8 hours. They're waiting for reinforcements. Alex looked at his team. We need to leave. Now, before they can stop us. As they prepared for a hasty departure, a soft chime came from the room's entrance. Grace drew her sidearm and positioned herself beside the door. Who is it? Alex called. I am Ambassador Eliana of the Solari, came the reply. I must speak with you urgently. Alone. Alex looked at Grace, who shook her head in warning. But something about the ambassador's tone made Alex curious. Let her in, but stay alert. The door opened to reveal the glowing energy being from the council meeting. Unlike the other Concordat representatives, Eliana entered alone, without guards. Commander Nichols, I do not have much time, she said, her voice sounding like gentle music. You are in great danger. The Krell and Zarn Collective have convinced the Council to classify humanity as a threat. They will not allow the Valiant to return to Earth. Why are you telling us this? Alex asked suspiciously. Because the Solari have watched your species with great interest for millennia, Eliana replied. Unlike the other Concordat members, we see your potential. You've been watching us too? Grace asked, keeping her weapon ready. Yes, but not with the same purpose, Eliana explained. The Concordat has grown stagnant. The ruling species maintain their power by controlling the development of newer civilizations. Your arrival has disrupted their carefully managed system. Alex studied the energy being. What do the Solari want from us? An alliance, Eliana said simply. We are the oldest members of the Concordat, but our influence has waned. The Krell, Zarn, and others fear change. We embrace it. And what would this alliance involve? Alex asked. We will help the Valiant return safely to Earth. We will share defensive technologies to protect your world. In exchange, Earth becomes the centerpiece of a reformed galactic structure, one where emerging species are welcomed rather than controlled. Why should we trust you? Grace demanded. Eliana's glow dimmed slightly. Because I will show you the truth. She moved to the computer terminal and accessed a secure portion of the database. Images appeared showing Earth at various points in history. One series showed a thriving civilization with technology similar to Earth's 19th century suddenly collapsing after what looked like targeted strikes from orbit. This was Earth, approximately 12,000 years ago, Eliana explained. When your ancestors developed too quickly, the Concordat intervened. What your archaeologists attribute to natural disasters or warfare were often calculated strikes to reset human development. Alex stared at the images in horror. This has happened repeatedly. 3 times, Eliana confirmed. The Solari opposed each intervention, but we were outvoted. And now they want to do it again, Heather said. Yes, the Krell battle fleet will arrive within 6 hours. Once here, they will have enough firepower to take your ship and quarantine your system. Why would the Concordat fear us so much? Kyle asked. Because you achieved in decades what should have taken centuries, Eliana replied. Your adaptive thinking and technological innovation rate is unprecedented. The ruling species fear that if humanity joins the galactic community, their control will end. They're right, Alex said quietly. Eliana's glow brightened. Precisely. Which is why the Solari wish to ally with you. Together we can create a more balanced Concordat. As if to confirm her warnings, alarms began to sound throughout the station. A voice announced security measures being implemented in all docking bays. They're moving faster than expected, Eliana said urgently. You must decide now, Commander. Trust your instincts and return to your ship, or wait for the Krell and lose everything. Alex looked at his team, seeing determination in their eyes. Humanity had come too far to be caged now. Grace, contact Patrick. Tell him to prepare the Valiant for immediate departure. Everyone else, gather what data you can and get ready to move. He turned back to Eliana. If we accept your help, what exactly can you offer right now? Safe passage, she replied. And this. She handed him a small crystal device. This contains shield technology that will protect your ship from Concordat weapons. My people have prepared it for human technology. With alarms blaring and the sounds of security forces moving through the station, Alex made the most important decision any human had ever made about Earth's future. We accept your alliance, Ambassador. Now let's get back to our ship. Alarms blared throughout Harmonious Convergence Station as Alex and his team raced through the corridors toward the docking bay. Ambassador Eliana led the way, her glowing form creating a path that other station residents instinctively moved away from. Security forces are sealing off sections of the station, Grace warned, checking a small device that tracked station communications. They'll reach the docking bay in 3 minutes. We need to move faster, Alex urged. As they rounded a corner, they encountered a squad of Krell security officers. The reptilian aliens raised their weapons. Halt, humans, the lead Krell ordered. By order of the Council, you are to be detained. Before anyone could react, Eliana moved forward. Her energy form pulsed, and a wave of light washed over the Krell. They froze in place, their eyes unfocused. They will remain confused for a short time, Eliana explained. This way. They continued toward the docking bay. Alex contacted Patrick on the Valiant. What's your status? Alex asked. The station has locked down all docking clamps, Patrick replied. And we've got 6 Concordat vessels moving to block our departure vector. We've installed the Solari shield. Technology. But the drive needs 4 minutes to create a wormhole. We're almost there, Alex said. Be ready to break free as soon as we're aboard. They reached the docking bay to find more security forces attempting to access the Valiant's airlock. Heather quickly linked her portable device to the station's systems. I can override the docking controls, she said, fingers flying over the screen, but it will trigger more alarms. Do it, Alex ordered. Heather's hack worked. The security panel at the Valiant's airlock turned green, and the door slid open. The security forces turned and raised their weapons. Go! Alex shouted to his team. Kyle and Grace provided covering fire, using non-lethal stun settings. The team raced into the airlock while Eliana created another energy pulse that disoriented the security forces. Within moments, everyone was aboard the Valiant. Seal the airlock and disengage all docking connections, Alex ordered as he ran to the bridge. Patrick's status. Patrick stood from the captain's chair. Shields at full power with the Solari upgrades. Wormhole drive charging. 2 minutes until ready. On the main screen, Alex could see Concordat ships moving to surround them. A communication came through from Admiral Zakathal. Commander Nichols, Power down your engines immediately. This unauthorized departure violates council directives. Comply, or we will open fire. Alex took his seat. Admiral, we came in peace, but we will not allow Earth to be contained or reset like you've done in the past. We're leaving. You've aligned with the Solari, the Admiral said, his voice cold. A grave mistake. They have their own agenda. Perhaps, Alex replied. But at least they don't fear change. He cut the communication. Tactical report. Kyle ran a quick analysis. 7 concordant military vessels in position. Their weapons are charging. Based on our scans, they outgun us significantly. But they don't know what our shields can handle now, Alex said. Olivia, broadcast a message to all concordant factions we've had contact with. Tell them Earth is open to diplomatic relations, but we will not be controlled. As Olivia sent the message, the first concordant ship fired. Energy weapons struck the E. Valiant, but the Solari shields held. Shields at 92%, reported Kyle. Better than expected. Return fire, Alex ordered. Target weapon systems only. We don't want to destroy them, just clear a path. The Valiant's weapons fired with precision, disabling the weapons on 2 concordant ships. But more ships were arriving. Wormhole drive at 90%. Heather called from engineering. Need 1 more minute. Suddenly, new ships appeared on their sensors. They were smaller than the concordant military vessels but moved with incredible speed. We're getting a transmission, Olivia said, surprised. It's from the Velix Republic and the Terrian Federation. They're coming to help us. On screen, the smaller ships began attacking the concordant vessels, creating confusion in their formation. Why would they help us? Patrick asked. Ambassador. Eliana, who had joined them on the bridge, explained, Your arrival has given hope to the younger species in the Concordat. They see in humanity a chance to break the dominance of the older powers. The smaller ships continued their attack, creating a gap in the concordant blockade. Wormhole drive ready, Heather announced. Target Earth and activate, Alex ordered. The space in front of the Valiant began to distort as the wormhole formed. But before they could enter it, a massive ship appeared. It was at least 3 times larger than any they had seen before. Krell, Dreadnought, Eliana said, her glow dimming. Their most powerful warship, the Dreadnought fired, and even with the Solari shields, the Valiant shook violently. Shields down to 40%, Kyle reported. We can't take another hit like that. Alex looked at their options. The wormhole was stable, but the Dreadnought blocked their path. They needed a distraction. Suddenly, the Valiant sensors detected something new. 3 more wormholes opened near the station. From each emerged a ship that looked similar to the Valiant. We're being hailed, Olivia said in disbelief. It's Earth ships. The main screen changed to show the bridge of another vessel. Captain Lisa Rodriguez smiled at Alex's shocked expression. Surprised to see us, Commander Nichols? You didn't think the Valiant was our only ship, did you? How? Alex managed to ask. After you left, UNSC completed 3 more ships, Lisa explained. When we lost contact with you, Admiral Morgan ordered us to follow. Looks like we arrived, just in time. The 3 Earth ships, commanded by Captain Rodriguez, Admiral Frank Morgan, and Commodore Daniel Wright, immediately engaged the Krell Dreadnought, their combined firepower drawing its attention away from the Valiant. All ships, form up on the Valiant, Admiral Morgan ordered over the comm. We're going home together. The 4 human vessels aligned and accelerated toward the wormhole. Behind them, confusion reigned as concordant factions fired on each other, the entire political structure collapsing into chaos. As they entered the wormhole, Ambassador Eliana turned to Alex. This is just the beginning, Commander. The Concordat will never be the same after today. When you return to Earth, tell your leaders that the Solari stand ready to help humanity take its rightful place among the stars. The trip through the wormhole took only moments. When they emerged, Earth hung before them like a blue jewel. Send a message to UNSC headquarters, Alex ordered Olivia. Tell them everything has changed. Earth is not alone, and we have a lot to prepare for. 8 months later, Alex stood in a grand hall in Geneva as representatives from 7 concordate species signed the new Galactic Accord with Earth. The treaty established humanity as a full member of a restructured alliance with guarantees of autonomy for all developing worlds. Ambassador Eliana, now the Solari representative to Earth, stood beside him. "Your people have accomplished in months what took other species centuries," she said. "The old concordate never understood the human spirit." Alex watched as human and alien diplomats mingled, sharing ideas and forming new bonds. "We didn't just join the stars," he replied. "We change what it means to journey among them." Outside, the Valiant and her sister ships prepared for their next mission, not as lone explorers, but as the vanguard of humanity's new role in the galaxy. The ship that had once stunned galactic leaders had become the symbol of a new era for Earth and the stars beyond.